It's all happening not just for the Chiefs, but for one in particular. George Karlaftis gets it done. What does his deal mean for this year's training camp? Coming up next here on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome, friends and neighbors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, you can get $150 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. Go check it out. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And that's your team every single day. You every dayers, we appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. We know that you guys know, but like, sub, and hit the bell on YouTube and audio and everywhere else. We're always looking for your insights and your feedback because you everydayers are why we are here. Thanks for being with us. We're going to run it down for you today as we're starting to kick things off. Waiting for deals to happen sometimes requires deadlines. And this is part of it. And while we're going to clarify specifics here, the George Karlaftis deal is a big part of this, what the pass rush looks like. How is it going to change in the future? That's coming up later in the show. What the pass rush itself looks like for 2025 as we are on the cusp of seeing guys on the field at training camp. And we start with George Karlaftis, the deal itself, value, etc. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, as well as my outlets, RGR Football and NFL 33, where you can get a lot more information as well. My partner, Chris Clark, over at KC Chiefs Corner, you can find his work there. Here we are, and we know in the draft class where you have 2 number 1 picks, somebody had to go first. I think this makes a lot of sense that the George Karlaftis deal gets done ahead of time because I think it's a little bit more straightforward. I don't think you see as high a highs, and I don't think he is as elite a pass rusher as Trent McDuffie is a cornerback. So I'm relieved, honestly, that they got it out of the way because it feels like George is quicker. He looks like he's in better shape, and he might have an epic year for the Kansas City Chiefs this season. They might have just saved themselves some money.
4 years, $93 million with $62 million guaranteed, and you're going to say that they saved some money.
Could be more next year, you know what I mean?
No, I get it. I said it that way on purpose. I love this deal. I love the structure. To be clear, it's not really just a $93 million contract. It's like a $115 million contract because it includes his 2 years that he still had left on his current contract. So it's an extension that ties him through 2030, I believe, with the Chiefs. So this is a great deal for Kansas City. It's a good deal for George, too. He gets the signing bonus, which can be prorated out up to 5 years. So that will not be prorated out on the last year. So this is going to have a little bit of a cap impact for 2025. I haven't found that information out there yet. But essentially, this comes down to a 6-year deal for like $115 million, and I will take that for George Karlaftis. I think that's like $17 million a year is I think what I saw being talked about for this one. And when you look at it from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense for Kansas City. He's not a top-tier pass rusher. He's not going to be a guy like Myles Garrett, and I'm okay with that. But they paid him like he is a top probably 20 and maybe even top 15 pass rusher. And the reality of this contract is that by the time he actually starts to see the new money and the new contract, he'll be vastly underpaid. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of NFL contracts.
Very, very true. And the 93, even the 93 over 4, which is just the new money, which is normally what I refer to instead of lumping it together with the 2 years that we already know what the costs are. Just in terms of the new money, that's going to get caught up to rather quickly as well. So when you take a step back and you look at him as a pass rusher in his time in the league, the only guy from his class that can even hold a candle and is better than him in terms of some statistical production, but had an injury, is Aiden Hutchinson, the guy that was top of the top of that draft class. George has outplayed my expectation for him. And I don't think he's done yet because while he's made improvements, I still see more to his game that can come. We'll talk about where that goes initially. But I think this contract pays him for what he is about to do this season and the season after that, and maybe even through 27.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the deals as they are right now, as far as we know, I think this takes into account just about everything. He is getting paid, if you just look at the 4 years over 93, he's getting paid about $23.5 million a year. That would put him in the top 10 when it comes to pass rushers. But if you really look at the contract, like I said, it's more like 17.25, which puts him about in the 15 to 16 to 18 range, somewhere in there, which to me, is perfect for what you want to be paying George. I agree with you. I think he could be getting better as this contract goes on. This also does something else for him. He's 24 years old. He now has the ability to have a third contract at a pretty good rate because he's going to be getting out of this one at 29, close to 30. So I do think that this is a fantastic deal for Kansas City. I'm glad it got done, and I think it makes a lot of sense. When you start looking at what they're going to have to pay Trent McDuffie, that's going to be a lot more money. And now that you have this deal done, you know what he's on the books for the next 6 years. You can now figure out, what can I give Trent McDuffie? What can I get? How can I get this deal done? And if you do that, then you have both these guys locked up for the long term. And McDuffie's deal, if he gets one, is going to be similar to Karlaftis's, where it's just going to be an extension added on to the 2 years that he's got left right now.
Agreed. And they could be working on that right now for all we know. And if they are, more power to them. Because much like George Karlaftis, I think Trent McDuffie will have continued acceleration and more value after this season.
Yeah, the other thing that really sticks out to me on this is the corner group has kind of been set. The market's been set by, look at the guys that have been paid. Sauce Gardner got paid. Derek. Thank you. I was trying to think of his name. Several guys have been paid, and Surtain the second got paid as well. Or the Pat Surtain in Denver got paid as well. So you have all these different corner contracts. J.C. Horn got paid, that have kind of set the market at that position.
Mm-hmm.
Edges, you don't have that. You have edges that are resetting the market in T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett. And now you have Aiden Hutchinson on deck, and you get this deal done before Aiden Hutchinson gets paid. And I do think that really plays into how this got done and why this got done when it did. I would bet money that they were working on this deal long before they even signed Trey Smith to his deal, because they had parameters and they had an idea, and it just came together because they finally had the Trey Smith deal done. They knew what they had left. They knew what they needed to work with, and this got the deal done with George Karlaftis. And the reason they're able to pay him what they're able to pay him is because they're able to give him a lot more money in year one in signing bonus cash that he wasn't going to be getting beforehand, and that gets them a discount on the back end. This is fantastic for them, and I will have more once we get more of the information as to what this cap numbers are going to be, how that's going to break out year to year once we have the full signing bonus information, and how that's going to work for the cap going forward. But at this point, I love this deal for the Chiefs. He's not a top 5 pass rusher, but I also don't want to be paying him like a top 5 pass rusher, and that's the problem. If you're going to go pay a pass rusher, you're going to have to pay top 7, top 5 money just to get somebody probably as good as George for probably, what would you think, a 30 to 50% markup? Because free agency is going to cost them more.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. The thing that saved them the most money here is getting done before Hutchinson. Because even though statistically he's a higher player, it would still pull that value up. So by getting it signed and out of the way, you saved yourself that markup as well. And I think long-term, that helps this whole defense and this whole roster. They have to get better. They got better by signing George Karlaftis. They're going to have to get better in 2025 as well. They're going to do that by making sure that they maximize George Karlaftis' productivity. How does that happen? Coming up next. Summer sports are in full swing, everyone, whether you're out under baseball or you're on the golfing tee, whatever you're doing, and you're taking in the soccer action that drives everybody crazy this time of year. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. And if you're already following the action, why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in the game right now with your friends while they're getting sunburned on the beach. You're in the action. I use FanDuel a lot and track my matchups, get my absolute best plays in. You can keep it fresh, and they even have new daily promotions to keep it fun as well. It's always a plus. So if you're new to FanDuel, now is the time to take advantage of it. New customers can just bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets back if you win that first bet. Open up FanDuel app today and visit FanDuel.com to get started. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Workplace stress can all pile up on top of you. Over 61% of the global workforce is reporting higher than normal stress levels right now. This summer is the perfect time to take small steps in focus and get on your wellness, manage your challenges, and come back with a lighter, better workday. Of course, most of us can't just quit our jobs or take endless vacations. We know that. But you can start small, whether it's trying to get outside for a few minutes, adding movement into your day, which really helps, or just talking to someone about the normal challenges of life. That's where BetterHelp can come in and give you a hand. It allows you to establish healthier boundaries at work so that you don't stress over when you're at home versus when you're at work, etc. Make things that matter to you the most important and be able to separate your life from your work life. Right now, the largest online therapy in the world, BetterHelp can help you access the mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise and get it all done. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. As we get ready to push into training camp right now, the Karlaftis deal does two things. I think it brings a little bit more respect to his name. I think teams across the league are just going to be like, okay, so they really do believe in him. Let's take another look at it. I think that pulls a little bit of attention away from Chris Jones. Now, they are the 1-2 punch of this defensive pass rush. But by having a second, legitimate star that you're paying, does that change how they can function to you?
I don't think it changes how they function. I think Karlaftis getting paid tells you that where they feel like he is on this roster and how important they feel like he is going forward. And the reality is when you start looking at the salary cap and looking at how things are going to go in 2026 and 2027, Chris Jones is due like $45 million in 2026. That's going to have to be adjusted. And I know we are talking pass rush, so it all applies. The reality is that you're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have to make adjustments on the defense somewhere. The nice thing is if you look at 2026, you're not going to have a deal for Charles Omenihu, which you're going to need to replace the pass rush, but that's some money coming back that you don't have to deal with. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to stay productive at the pass rush position going forward. I would say I don't think that this changes anything for them in 2025, but I do think that it shows they really feel like he's a building block. I won't call him a cornerstone, but they feel like he's a building block for this defense.
I think he can get to that cornerstone position if he continues the trajectory he's on. But I think the way that you get better on this defense and this pass rush in particular is by using them as a duo, a two-pillar system that you build off of, whether that's stunting more so that you can draw pass block away from them, come around the edge, TE stunts, et cetera, all kinds of schematic ways to take advantage of these two players, the attention that they're going to draw. But I also think that you have to change it up a little bit. I do think there are times when Chris Jones should still be the only down lineman on the field, where you have to get back into the crazy NASCAR stuff that Steve Spagnuolo has done in the past, and you have to keep changing it up. By having now another player under contract that you got to know where he is at all times because you feel like he can take advantage if you don't, I think it allows you to get a little bit more playful, probably isn't the right word, but whimsical, interesting, crazy, whatever you want to call it, with the way that you choose to approach the pass rush this particular season. As you said, things are going to have to change next year, but you got to maximize what you have right now.
No, absolutely. And I guess what I'm looking at and the way I look at this pass rush is when you start talking about Chris Jones being the only down lineman, I would even argue that at times I don't even care if he's the down lineman at that point. Because the reality is that you're going to have 3 or 4 guys on the field to do that, to do whatever you're to be in that type of position. I don't mind what the Patriots did in how they kind of move guys around and didn't necessarily get them down into normal stances. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time, but you can use that to your advantage, and you can use that to win different matchups and to set your matchups up that you want specifically. And it goes beyond just a George Karlaftis and a Chris Jones, because not only do you have those guys, we've already talked about a minute here. You have Mike Dana, you have FAU, you have all these different guys that can break down inside and rush the passer. And they did finally get a deal done with Omar Norman Lott, which I think is a big deal as well. He's at camp on time. That's a good thing for Kansas City. But then you also have a guy in Leo Chenal, who I'm not expecting to get a ton of pass rush. But when you start talking about the pass rush, maybe you only throw 3 of your normal pass rushers or 3 of your normal defensive lineman types out there, and Chenal's out there, and it looks like it's more of a 3-3 type defense where it's still maybe more of a nickel package because Chenal's rushing the passer versus playing the linebacker role.
Yeah, it could easily
the mixture you can do. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I love where you're going there because you can mix it up and keep everybody off guard. And I think that's the theme this whole year for getting back to what Spags wants to do. When he was like super crazy a couple of years ago, it worked very well and it kept everybody on their toes in terms of the opposing quarterbacks. And I think that's exactly how you have to approach it. I do think the other rookie in Gelati is going to play a part in that as well because he also can stand up when needed. And he and Chenal honestly make kind of a really interesting like duo package. You can stack the line to one side and put those guys together, both standing up on the other. There's absolutely no way this quarterback's going to figure it out. I guarantee you.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun because I do think that the Chiefs have a lot of different players that can play a lot of different positions. They have gone for scheme versatility when it comes to some of the defensive linemen that they've drafted over the past couple of years. Obviously, a guy like Norman Lott, I think, is going to be just playing your defensive tackle role specifically. But when you start looking at some of the other guys that they have, when like Karlaftis, for example, Karlaftis can break down inside and be defensive tackle, play that position and play it well enough. It's not that he has to dominate. It's play it well enough to give somebody else a different look on the outside that the offense wasn't ready for and expecting. That's what makes this defense so much better is when you don't know where the pass rush is coming from or how it's coming, because you're not talking about stunts at that point. You're talking about how they line up, which you could still stun off of. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can run it when you have guys that can play in and out. And that's one thing that Kansas City has continually built with guys that they have drafted is they draft guys that generally can play inside and outside, especially at the defensive end position. And that has been so huge for their versatility and what they're able to do when they play defense.
And that's one thing I don't expect to change. The versatility piece is a cornerstone of this coaching staff and their philosophy. But what will change? Well, with this deal, they have told us exactly what the future is going to be, and it is George Karlaftis at the top of the list for the Chiefs pass rush. What does it look like next?
Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is the next generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information.
I tried to be respectful when you're doing a live read. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about. I mean, camp right now is literally starting. Players are showing up.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
I think Simmons walked in today. I think I saw that. They're getting close and they're getting ready. And it's nice for George to walk in and have a signing that he has to take care of right away. That's a nice way to approach the entry to camp.
Love that. And Reed talked about it too.
And I get a kick just for the day. Nice for him to have the dog with him. For those of you who haven't seen the images, it's just a plus. I think
big day for Ralph.
Yeah, big day. I think it's key to recognize that what this deal means in the bigger scope of the next continued evolution of this team. And I continue to think about it in terms of the Mahomes years. Getting close to 30, Mahomes is the era-defining piece of this team, and how he is supported on the defensive side of the ball, I think, is maybe one that flies too under the radar about how successful this team can be with him here. George Karlaftis is now the anchor for the future. Chris Jones is obviously the best player on the defensive front right now. That's not a question. Not trying to say that he's supplanting him in any way. But Chris Jones can see the decline will come eventually, just like Aaron Donald and everyone else that plays his position. Eventually you run out of years. And when that changes, George Karlaftis will be the future, at least according to this deal and how they see their future right now. And I think that actually gives me a little bit more comfort than just signing your best pass rusher that's coming up for deal because you don't want to lose talent, right? Like, this is more of a plan than it appears on the outside to me.
I think it says that, like I said, I don't think that I see him as a cornerstone of this defense, but I do see him as being a building block that they can build on. Can he get to cornerstone? Yeah, maybe. He has some steps to take to get there. But I also think that when you look at this and you look at how it's going to evolve over the next couple of seasons, you made a great point. Chris Jones is getting older. That is reality. We talk about Travis Kelce on the other side of the ball. Reality. It happens. It comes and it hits you. And at some point, Chris Jones isn't going to be as effective as he has been. And the Chiefs will deal with that as they need to. But the other part of this is this gives them somebody that they can pair with him, gives them pass rush that is going to be with Chris Jones as long as Chris Jones is going to be here and even longer. But the even better thing for me is that this gives them continuity to build a defensive line continually around. If Chris Jones is gone in 3 years or 4 years, however long he ends up playing, you now have a piece that you have somebody to build around right now, and you can still be trying to draft and add to what you already have on the roster.
And that's the key. Stack the deck, stack the cards with as many as you can. I think what we've seen them have to do recently on the offensive line in making a few selections in running years to get to that point was what had to happen. And I think there's going to be a portion of that is also going to have to supplement George Karlaftis going forward. I think Gelati might be part of that. I have higher expectations for the Gelati than most. But I do think it's still going to have to be continued to be supplemented. We'll have to see what Norman Lott turns into. A lot of folks feel that I'm way too down on Norman Lott, that he's drafted so high that he's got to be a natural fit to be the next wrecking ball that Chris Jones is. I didn't have Chris Jones becoming what he became at this point. So there's no way to really predict that with any kind of realism.
There's no way that most of the NFL thought that Chris Jones was going to be who Chris Jones is, or he would not have been around in the second round. He probably wouldn't have been around at the end of the first round, let alone around in the second round for the Chiefs to take. And they traded with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, when that trade happened. It's interesting to me. You look at it, and you brought up the offensive line, and I know we're talking pass rush, but I would be remiss without saying, look at everything they did for the offensive line this year. And look at how it's going to start playing out in St. Joe already.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just found out that Jawan Taylor is going to start training camp on PUP.
Yep.
Which isn't too much of a surprise if you've been paying attention to what we've been talking about OTAs and the fact he hasn't been practicing. So that's going to be a concern. And now you have Josh Simmons stepping into, is he going to play left tackle? Is he going to play? I would imagine he's going to be right tackle, but who knows? Left tackle, right tackle. It all is going to play into how this is going to go. Christian Fulton also is on PUP, but Andrew Wiley, I didn't believe is starting on PUP, which I found interesting. So,
Andrew Wiley, I didn't realize that he was injured at all.
Or not Wiley.
He might be. I just don't know.
The tight end. Wiley, not
Jared
Andrew.
Wiley.
I apologize. Jared Wiley. Said the wrong name.
Right,
Yeah, we were talking
fair.
offensive line. Offensive line with Wiley. My bad. I apologize. But you start looking at how this is going to play out and how you have to build depth. And you talk about building depth year after year after year with the offensive line. And they finally seemingly gotten to a point where they have it. And you're going to have to start doing that at the defensive line. They've been investing at the defensive end position regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to have to continue to do that at the defensive tackle position. And I do think that even after taking Omar Norman Lott this year, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you're looking at another first or top three. What I mean by top three is top 3 round pick at defensive
top
tackle.
100 selections. Yep.
Yeah. In the next 2 drafts.
That
they
is
need that much. They don't have anybody other than Norman Lott, who and Chris Jones. They don't really have anybody.
And that's not to slight Jerry Tillery. For those of you that are excited about Jerry Tillery, I was happy they made the signing. Can I see him becoming an all-world defensive tackle pass rusher? No. But he can be a solid bit player in this group. He does have skill set. He's played against the Chiefs. So, yes, there's a history there. But you have to continue to invest in the future. And I think that's probably where we're getting to with this. So we're going to continue down those lines. Players are arriving. We're going to start getting updates for you. I believe if I mark from the people I trust on social media, meaning the beat reporters, 33rd training camp for Andy Reid. That's pretty impressive.
And he's looking quite slim.
Yeah, and that's a plus for him long term. Well done, Coach. You can find out a little more about that over at NFL 33, where we're starting in just our 3rd season, not 33rd, but it's close. It's fine. Check that out and get over to KC Chiefs Corner too.
So I double checked. It's Trey Watson that's starting on PUP. So Jared Wiley is not starting on PUP. That is huge, and could mean a lot for his ability to come in and actually give them something this year for 2025. I'm excited. I think that between him and you have the additions of I'm just excited. This is going to be a fun training camp. I'm going to be curious to see how the offensive line plays out, and it's going to be real interesting to see, because if you get into week 2 or week 3 and Jawan Taylor is still sitting on the PUP list, you have to wonder, is it going to get to a point where, I'm not saying that he loses his job, but is Simmons going to be a guy that pushes to maybe be a starter just because he's already been getting starter reps at one side? Maybe he becomes a starter at the other side if Jawan comes back. I don't know. There's lots of different things that we're going to have to be watching.
You're absolutely right. And I will say this, Josh Simmons' time on the field is determined by Josh Simmons, not by injuries. If he's ready to go, he will compete. If he's not, he still cannot. And that's the way it's going to go. But we have been hinting at you guys for a couple of months here about how this might start to go depending on injury and availability. And yes, who could play on the right side versus the left. It doesn't always happen, but when we lay some hints out there, we're generally barking up the right tree. So just be prepared, because it may be kind of a back and forth kind of teeter-totter here thing for a bit.
Yeah. Going to be really interesting to see how training camp starts off. And I will say Simmons walking in looks like he is fully ready to go. And I'm excited because he's not on PUP either, which I didn't figure he would be, but it seems like he should be full go. And if he can start training camp day 1, that's even better for Kansas City, because I think there are some people that were drafted in the first round that didn't think he would be playing maybe this season.
Yeah, about 31 other teams are going to be pretty pissed off, and I'm here for that.
Imagine, yeah.
That works for me just fine. Let us know what you think. Who are you most excited about? What do you think of the Karlaftis deal and the offensive tackle spot? Leave us your comments down below here on YouTube. Check us out for free every day on every platform all the time. The everydayers, you guys know that, because we are your team every single day. We appreciate you. It's training camp. It's just about here. We're going to have it all for you 5 days a week. Plus, you know how we roll, and you can always have us tell you the truth, whether you like it or you don't. We're going to give it to you as we see it. Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate you, and we'll definitely talk to you tomorrow.